I think the most important thing that a business should have before it's ready to grow or to scale is to have an understanding, a clear understanding of what that product or service might be and how that product or service is produced. What is involved in making your widget, in providing your service to your client, in creating that particular item that you are already successfully selling at the level that you are selling it. That's the first piece. The second piece is how are you applying your data analytics? Do you have the data? Are you measuring it? How are you going to replicate what you do on a daily basis? So if we were to take something like a product that you manufacture, how long does it take? Where do the resources come from? Once you start it on the assembly line, how does it go from step one to step two to step three to step four? And how do we make that? How do we make it 10 a day? How do we make it 100 a day? What can we repeat? Because once you have that, you can figure out how to do more of that. And more importantly, how to train an effective team to do that. Because while you as the business owner may be involved in that production today, if you're successful, you won't be involved in that production later. I like to tell a story about becoming a lawyer. We go to law school for 3 years to learn how to produce a legal product. We become very good at writing briefs, about doing client interviews, about handling trials. What I found is that if you are good at that, within 3 to 5 years of getting out of law school, you will be called upon to start managing people who do that, to start replicating that process. And I find for attorneys that is a high fail point because we weren't taught to do that. With law students, I often tell them if you're going to get your law degree, get your MBA at the same time because you'll need those skills in 3 to 5 years to make sure that your law practice grows commensurate with your desires. For me, I didn't have that experience, and I know because I had a lot of fits and starts, a lot of ups and downs, that I got that training in the School of Hard Knocks, which is what I like to say. I got my MBA in the School of Hard Knocks practicing law. But those lessons are incredibly important because you will, if you are good at what you do, have to find a way to replicate that. The second thing is finding an owner who is ready to go through the changes that growth involves. Many, many times, the people who brought you here are not the people who are going to bring you to the next level. Frequently, I have my mother-in-law does my books, my uncle helps me with marketing, my best friend runs operations for me, which is great at a certain size. But at some point, you may outgrow that skill set or you may outrun that relationship. So you have to be ready for change. You will be called to change yourself. You will call on your coworkers, your employees to change. And you need to be ready to change those people who don't fit that mold, which is very, very difficult. Very difficult. Change is painful. But if you want it, you've got to be willing to do it. And what I do promise is that while where you end up may look nothing like what you're thinking today and may not have the people involved that you like today, it can be much better than it is today for you. The last is a willingness of that owner to find a way to step back from working in the business and work on the business. We spend so much time working day to day in our businesses, managing a production, dealing with some of the issues of human resources, dealing with what computer to use, who's going to buy this software. These are all working in the business, but working on the business involves taking that 30,000 foot view of the business and how do we go forward. And that takes time and that takes energy, and you have to be willing to make that change. Initially, that's your part-time job in addition to your full-time job. Your full-time job when you start scaling is to run your business, but you're going to assume a part-time job, a side hustle, that's going to involve growing that business. And you have to have a willingness and a desire to do that. I will tell you that that's a failure point for many, many people I know. I had one client I worked with at one point in time. We were talking about the amount of billing that people did, about payroll, about all of these things. And he looked at me and he said, I didn't go to school for this. And I had to say, yeah, but this is what you want. And I find that the people who enjoy that process are the people who are really successful at scaling. The people who don't enjoy that process either have to obtain people who can help them with that, and we'll talk about that in a minute, or figure out how to like it or decide not to do it. Not everyone is set to own and scale a business. Having a really well-run business of a certain size is very good too. You got to decide what you are and you've got to be that. And I think that leads to one other thing when it comes to scaling or to running a business in general. Everyone has a superpower. That is the area that you're innately good at and that you enjoy. For me, my superpower is working with people, doing marketing, and a more recently found superpower is our process policies and implementation. I didn't know I had it. I found it in my 40s, but I have it. I really love doing that. And when I work in that space, I don't feel like I'm working. I feel like I'm doing fun. And I enjoy that. Now, there are things that we aren't in our superpowers. I am not the best integrator at all times. It's a learned skill for me. I don't know a lot about human resources. I'm not an accountant. I can do all that if I need to, but I don't enjoy it and I'm not as productive. So as you grow and you have the ability to do that, my suggestion is that you find out what your superpower is. You find a way to work as much as possible in that superpower, and you find people to surround yourself who are then able to work in their superpower that's complementary to yours. They will love working with you. They will love doing what they do. They will help your business succeed. But you have to be very mindful of what your superpower is, what other people's superpower might be, and have the ability to let them do what they're really good with. That can be hard for a lot of business owners, but if you can do that, you can scale your business.